Thanks, Sophie. You're watching South East Today. Our top story tonight: an apology from Natalie Elphicke, who defected to Labour yesterday over support she gave to her former husband after his sexual assault conviction.
It was much worse for all of those people, all those women who had to give evidence at that time. And so I would like to take the opportunity to apologise to them.
Police say catching a sexual offender is a priority after a spate of incidents in a Kent village as residents demand action.
These offences happened on this very path in broad daylight and we felt that we had to say something.
As the weather hots up, a stark warning on sun safety from campaigners and those diagnosed with skin cancer. We're at the coast in Brighton to see if beachgoers are taking the advice. And a royal recall. Double amputee fundraiser Tony Hudgell is invited back to the palace after missing a garden party when they got stuck in traffic. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Ellie Crisell. The Kent MP who defected from the Conservatives to Labour yesterday has apologised for comments she made supporting her former husband after he was convicted of sexual assault. After former Tory MP Charlie Elphicke was jailed for 2 years in 2020 for assaulting 2 women, Natalie Elphicke said the fact he was attractive and attracted to women had made him an easy target for dirty politics and false allegations. Today, just 24 hours after defecting and responding to a chorus of Labour MPs raising concerns, Natalie Elphicke spoke to the BBC. Chrissy Reedy reports.
Natalie Elphicke was seen at Charlie Elphicke's side, her then husband, every day throughout his sexual assault trial. Yesterday, she very publicly defected from the Tories to Labour.
Can I also warmly welcome the new Labour MP for Dover to these benches?
But she's now apologised after a flurry of MPs raised concern about her comments after he was convicted.
About that period of my life, it was an incredibly difficult and stressful period. But I do recognise it was much worse for all of those people, all those women who had to give evidence at that time. And so I would like to take the opportunity to apologise to them.
Natalie Elphicke ended their marriage after his conviction but supported his unsuccessful appeal.
Let's make no bones about it. There is some comments that she has made about the case of sexual violence that was put against her husband that to some are perceived as being victim blaming. Now, I've dedicated my entire life to this particular cause and I think she's got to explain herself.
There was a judicial process around the sexual assault and absolutely rightly it's fundamentally important that there is accountability for such crimes, and there was a parliamentary process as well, including a parliamentary process that applied to Natalie Elphicke.
Her defection yesterday left many of her former colleagues baffled.
Can I reassure the honourable gentleman that I am not about to defect to the opposition benches? They wouldn't be interested in me. I'm too left-wing.
The Labour Party has changed, and that change has been to occupy the centre ground. And he does have a clear plan and a vision for our country.
Charlie Elphicke, who was her predecessor as MP for Dover, was jailed for 2 years in 2020. Natalie Elphicke has said she will stand down as MP at the next election.
Well, Chrissy Reedy joins me now. Chrissy, it's been a lot of comments, a lot of chat about Natalie Elphicke, of course, haven't there? Do you think this apology will be enough for those who are unhappy about her defection?
I don't believe it is, Ellie. I think the word I would use is divisive. You have those at the top of the Labour Party who are delighted that Natalie Elphicke has defected. She's always been seen on the front line of wanting to tackle the migrant at the crossing issue. And then you've got the more progressive side of the party who, quite honestly, are just blown away by this. And of course, Natalie Elphicke has always been seen to be very right of the Conservative Party. Now, in the last few minutes, we've had a statement from Folkestone and Hythe Labour. It's quite a damning statement, if I may say so, where they say, "We're shocked and appalled to hear that Natalie Elphicke has been accepted as an MP within the Labour Party. We believe she is a toxic and divisive figure who has no place in the party, and that while it might have been temporarily headline grabbing to accept her, tremendous damage has been done to the party's reputation." So has she been welcomed by everyone? I think the answer's no.
Not exactly. Thank you very much, Chrissy. Kent Police says it's a priority to catch and prosecute the man responsible for a spate of indecent sexual exposure incidents in a small village near Tunbridge Wells. Residents there held a protest this afternoon demanding action on women's safety. The protesters met with local police officers seeking assurances about increased measures to ensure their well-being. Kent Police released CCTV footage of a man they believe may have information on these incidents, as Sarah Smith reports.
They should be out just enjoying the sunshine, but instead here in Rustall they're protesting that their freedom to do just that is being eroded. Police have released images of a man they want to speak to about a string of indecent exposure offences in these woodlands, and women, once again, are having to think twice about where they go.
I've always felt very safe on the common, never given another thought about walking on my own. But the other day when I came out, I had my phone in my hand, set to camera, just in case.
There's certain places I won't run at the moment. Like I normally run across the common and that sort of thing, but now I go to places where I'm much more visible, like along the road, where there's lots of cars.
I've got 3 teenage daughters and they walk to school from Rustall at the moment. And, you know, I've got to the point where I'm worried about them doing that.
For Felicity Williams, it takes her back to the horror of an attack she suffered while out walking 20 years ago.
It's affected me deeply. So now when I go for a walk, even in the local woods where I know there are lots of dog walkers, I'm always on guard. I'm always thinking, what's that noise? What's round the corner? And it's just wrong. I now don't really go for a walk on my own.
In November, the 2nd annual Reclaim the Night Walk was held in Tunbridge Wells, set up by Rustall residents Lauren Brooke and councillor Jane Sharratt. They organised today's protest.
These offences happened on this very path in broad daylight, and we felt that we had to say something. And people often ask us, what do we want to get out of this? And really it is awareness, but it's also a real cultural shift.
Here in Rustall, we're surrounded by the common, so it's just fundamental to us. We love it, and we want to be able to walk on it.
Police who came to meet protesters today say catching this man is a priority.
What they're doing is completely and utterly unacceptable, and what you've got to consider as well, what potentially might they go on to. So it's absolutely paramount that we identify, locate and arrest this individual for these series of incidents.
When Sarah Everard's killer was caught 3 years ago, it turned out he'd started his offending with indecent exposure. And last year, Tunbridge Wells MP Greg Clark championed a new law making sexual harassment in a public place a crime.
It's right that people are protesting for the safety, principally of women and girls. Really important that everyone should be able to use our streets without intimidation and the threat of violence or in this case, indecent exposure. And I hope that the perpetrator will be very quickly caught and brought to justice.
Now the search for this man continues.
Well, as we've been hearing, it's been 3 years since Sarah Everard was abducted, raped and murdered by a serving Met police officer. It sparked a national debate about the safety of women and girls. In the year after Miss Everard's murder, 138 women were killed by men in the UK, or a man was the chief suspect. In the same year in England and Wales, an estimated 798,000 women experienced sexual assault. And in March of this year, the charity Refuge delivered a petition containing more than 50,000 signatures to 10 Downing Street, citing the increased numbers of incidents of violence against women. Well, let's speak now to Sarah Smith. She's in Tunbridge Wells for us this evening. Hello, Sarah. What were those women protesting in Rustall today asking for?
They're asking for freedom to walk in parks like this one, in woodlands, on our streets without fear, for women and girls to be able to go anywhere they want without thinking, is it the wrong time of day or night? Shouldn't I be out? Is this a place that I can't be without fear of violence? And as we can see from those statistics you've just taken us through, it's still a big ask. Now, of course, these protesters would like to see more police on the streets, but they do have a very good relationship with the community police officers that we saw them with today. But what they really want, they say, is this cultural shift so that any level of violence against women and girls is seen as completely unacceptable. And that's why they were out today, to make their voices heard about that.
Sarah, thank you. Now, as the first spell of warm weather arrives here in the southeast, there is a stark warning from people who've been diagnosed with skin cancer and cancer charities who say cases of malignant melanoma are on the rise. Figures show there are around 10,000 new cases of skin cancer every year, and it's the fastest growing cancer for 18 to 30-year-olds. 1 in 4 people diagnosed with melanoma, the most aggressive form of the disease, do not survive beyond 5 years. The charity Melanoma Focus surveyed 2,000 people in the UK aged 16 and over and found around half of them thought sunscreen was too expensive. Juliet Parkin reports.
It's the weather we've all been waiting for, a chance to catch some rays and soak up the sun after a soaking wet winter. But it comes with a health warning about the risks of skin cancer. Music teacher Matt Jelf from Brighton was diagnosed with melanoma 2 years ago. He was just 35 at the time, and it came as a shock.
It was as simple as noticing a mole that I hadn't noticed before on my lower right leg, just at the sock line, and it was a place I suppose that I would have noticed if there was something before. So I noticed a change and I went to the doctor. The doctor referred me to the hospital. It's one of those lessons that, you know, you hear a lot, but I think there's always a lot of, well, it matter to everyone else and not necessarily me, and actually these things do happen.
Others are also speaking out for Melanoma Awareness Month to stress the risks of exposure to harmful UV rays. Georgia Edwards from Hawley was 19 when she was diagnosed. She'd been using sunbeds.
So I just felt devastated, and I think it came as a massive shock for me and my family, my loved ones, and it was just something that you don't expect so young. So I think not knowing what was going to happen and quite how serious it was at the time, it was just really scary.
So how to spot the signs? Well, a new mole or a change in an existing mole may be signs of melanoma. The main cause is ultraviolet light, which comes from the sun and is used in sunbeds. If detected, the main treatment is surgery.
The thing about melanomas is that they are highly preventable. So 86% of melanoma skin cancers are preventable by staying safe in the sun and avoiding sunbeds.
But as temperatures rise, are people really aware of the risks?
I think it's becoming more aware.
Yeah.
Through like social media and stuff.
Yeah, I think on TikTok people talk about it a lot as well, like the importance of wearing SPF all year round, not just when it's sunny.
I think we're aware of it, but we just love the sun so much and it's so rare that we get a bit silly with it. I'm seeing some pink bodies out on the beach today.
Skin cancer, very important. I've got a friend who got it on his ear and had to have half his ear removed.
Both Matt and Georgia underwent surgery and are still having regular checkups to make sure the cancer has not returned. The message this summer: stay safe in the sun.
Well, let's go live to Brighton Beach, where sun worshippers, of course, have been heading today. And Juliet is with us. Hello, Juliet. Are beachgoers there listening to this advice, do you think?
Well, Ellie, not everyone. No, it's inevitable, isn't it, at this time of the year? The first high temperatures of the year, and all that bare skin is exposed that's previously been covered up over winter, and people looking for a quick tan instead give themselves a very sore dose of sunburn, or even worse, the sun damage that could lead to skin cancer. So with temperatures set to rise over the weekend, what's the advice? Well, it's to wear high factor sunscreen, to cover up, to wear a hat, and not to go out in the midday heat. Well, it's interesting, the campaign groups we spoke to today, they're saying that they want to see a reduction in the cost of sunscreen so that it's no longer seen as a luxury item, but instead an affordable essential. Now, Matt Jelf, who you heard from in my report, says he's never particularly been a sun worshipper and he's not sure how he contracted melanoma, but his advice, if you notice a change in a mole or spot something new, contact your GP.
Juliet, thank you. An unexploded ordnance device has been successfully detonated in St Leonard's this afternoon. Homes and businesses were evacuated and a cordon was put in place after police were called to Ashdown House in Sedlescombe Road North at around 9:30 this morning. The MP for Dartford is calling on the government to intervene and pay for the repair of a major road following a huge landslip in North Kent. The cliff collapsed a year ago and forced the closure of Galley Hill Road in Swanscombe. It's caused long delays and congestion for residents and businesses. The King and Queen have extended a special invitation to 9-year-old double amputee Tony Hudgell to Buckingham Palace after he and his family missed a royal garden party. Tony, a fundraiser and campaigner who lost his legs after he was abused by his birth parents, was set to attend the royal garden party yesterday after getting an invitation from the King. However, he narrowly missed the occasion after a lorry fire left him and his family stranded on the M20. Peter Whittlesey reports.
For someone who missed out on meeting the King yesterday because he was stuck in a traffic jam on the M20, you'd think Tony Hudgell would be down in the dumps. But oh no, he was happy shooting hoops in his garden because after his mum tweeted about their ordeal, the palace has sent Tony an invite for next year.
We got back home. Guess what? The actual royal family tweeted from Mum and said we could go next year.
I bet you couldn't believe it, could you?
Yeah, I didn't even think they would do something like that.
Tony, who's from West Malling, had both legs amputated after he was abused as a baby. With the help of his adopted parents, he's raised more than £2 million for charities. Tony has just had hip surgery. His mum says rescheduling the palace invite has a silver lining.
Tony hopefully will be out of the cage that's around his leg, and he'll be back being mobile is the hope. I mean, that's what all this was about for his operation, and then he can walk around the palace gardens, which will be much nicer than being restricted in the wheelchair like he would have been.
This is the party Tony should have attended. With a year to wait, he's been thinking what he will say to the King and wishes His Majesty a speedy recovery following his cancer diagnosis.
Hi, I've always wanted to see you. He has had some, he's had some treatment done, and I just wanted to see if he was okay.
Tony says he's looking forward to going to Buckingham Palace because he remembers it from the special Platinum Jubilee Paddington Bear episode with the late Queen. The actual date hasn't yet been set, but he has received a formal confirmation from the Lord Chamberlain's office. Peter Whittlesey, BBC South East Today, West Malling.
Now it's just creeping up to 10 to 7. A reminder of our top story tonight. Natalie Elphicke has apologised for supportive comments she made about her ex-husband Charlie Elphicke after he was convicted of sexual assault. The MP for Dover and Deal defected from the Conservatives to Labour yesterday. Also in tonight's programme, a marital mystery. The 92-year-old who accidentally left her precious wedding dress in Eastbourne Library appeals for its return.
And it's been a sunny, warm day today, warmer still for tomorrow. I'll have the details later in the programme.
Now, without this Scottish engineer, we might not be here talking to you. Yes, more than a century ago, John Logie Baird carried out his groundbreaking achievement of transmitting images. The first successful experiment into early television took place right in the centre of Hastings. And as Leanne Rinney explains, to commemorate his work, an exhibition of artistic and mechanical inventions from dozens of artists is being held at Electro Studio Projects in St Leonard's.
Under crude aerials with primitive equipment, the engineers of Baird were dabbling in, for those days, a real far-fetched realm of science, television, sending pictures as well as sound by means of radio waves, Oh, what an absurdity.
100 years ago, and inventor John Logie Baird was busy experimenting. After months of trial and error, determination and vision, he created the very first television here in Hastings with a bang.
These letters date back to 1924. They're a correspondence with Baird and his financial backer William Day, when Baird was working in his studio in the Queen's Arcade in Hastings, and he was actually hurled across the room after suffering a 1200-volt shock. It's a really good documentation of this time in Hastings.
This month, Hastings is marking the life and work of John Logie Baird with a series of exhibitions in the town designed to celebrate the spirit of invention.
I think it's really important because he worked on his own, and we've been in a period where we've always had institutions that we've looked to carry that torch forward. But actually lots of people are still in their own little workshops making things perhaps shared in their domestic environment. And he was like that, and look what he did. He invented television, so he's inspirational for all us small makers and small developers.
The exhibition is open at the Electro Studios in St Leonard's this weekend, with more anniversary events planned for the end of the month. Leanne Rinney, BBC South East Today.
Gillingham's new manager has arrived at the club, which sacked the previous boss Stephen Clements after the Gills failed to reach the playoffs at the end of this season. 38-year-old Mark Bonner guided Cambridge United to promotion from League Two in 2021. Former Gills manager Stephen Clements was sacked last week after 6 months in charge. Well, our sports reporter James Dunn is live at the Priestfield Stadium for us this evening. Hello, James. You've been speaking to the new boss.
Yeah, I have. I'll tell you a bit about him, and I'm going to repeat some of the things you've already said, Ellie, because it's a CV that they'll be very happy about here at the Rainham end. He's 38 years old. He guided Cambridge United in 2021 to promotion from League Two, and that is the same league that Gillingham are in at the moment. Now, he was sacked in November when they were about 4 points above the relegation zone, and he replaces, as you say, Stephen Clements, who was in post for around 6 months. He was sacked after Gillingham failed to reach the playoffs, so it's pretty obvious what this club's ambitions are. So I asked Mark Bonner the obvious question: is he the man that's going to get Gillingham promoted?
Is the club in a situation where it can push? Yes. Is the club in a situation where it can cope with being in a higher division? Yes. Is it there now? No. And is it ready to be there now and right now? No. There's a lot of work to do between now and the start of the season and then in the season. So we have to add to the squad. We have to create our own identity and culture as a team. We have to find real consistency and togetherness in the way in which we do it. And only then will we have a chance of achieving that. And that's the bit that I'm excited to get to work on.
Well, he's the third manager under the owners Brad and Shannon Gallison, who took over around 18 months ago. They have invested in the squad, and as we all know, new managers do like to bring in their own players. Now, he is an interesting character. He's a very successful manager so far, but he was brought in very quickly. It took weeks to appoint Stephen Clements, and that was in the middle of a season. So I asked the managing director, how come this was done so quickly?
Well, I think the main thing is we wanted to make an appointment quickly because we wanted him to be a part of the recruitment process. We've had to hold off only a week really, but we didn't want to go out and bring players in and go, there you go, these are the players we've brought in. It's a real opportunity for that person to come in and go, this is how I want to play, this is the style I want to play, and we can recruit to fit that.
Well, every fan likes to hear talks of new players. The transfer window opens in June, and in almost exactly 2 months' time, that is when the start of next season will kick off, if it's a home game, from this very centre circle. Lots of work to do. The countdown begins now to that moment.
Indeed, James, there at Priestfield Stadium, home of the Gills. Thank you very much. 4 weeks ago, a 92-year-old lady from Eastbourne went to a book sale at Eastbourne Library. As she browsed, she placed a green plastic bag on the floor. Then she left without it. Now, Olga Henderson, a former prisoner of war who spent more than 3 years in captivity during World War II, is desperately appealing for its return because it contains something very precious to her, a link to her extraordinary past and a very happy day in 1948. Georgia Poncher has more on this remarkable story.
The year was 1948. Olga was just 16, Jim 33.
We were lucky, we had nearly 27 years and we had the 4 children.
But 3 weeks ago, 92-year-old Olga took her precious wedding dress to the dry cleaners. En route, she stopped at Eastbourne's library. When she returned home, she realised the dress had gone.
I just blame myself, really. I just think, well, at your age you should have known better. I just felt disappointed with myself, you know, because it was so precious that's what I'd done.
As a child, Olga was a prisoner of war in Singapore's notorious Chiang Mai prison. In 1942, she lived in Johor Bahru in British Malay, now modern-day Malaysia. It was invaded by the Japanese, along with Singapore. She was aged 9 at the time. 3 years after the family's release, Olga and Jim were married. She says the dress is very special.
It's been to Africa, Tanganyika, it's been to Cyprus, it's been to Australia, and it's been to Jesselton in Borneo, and it's been home here. So it's been everywhere with me. So that's why I feel so cross with myself.
Olga's wedding dress was wrapped in tissue paper in a green plastic bag. All she can do is wait and hope that someone can reunite them. Georgia Poncher, BBC South East Today.
Oh, keep an eye out for that plastic bag. Now, time for a look at the weather. Rachel is with us. What is there to say, Rachel? It's glorious.
I know, you just don't need me to tell you. Of course, today has been sunny and warm. What a lovely day. Clear blue skies for the most part, some hazy sunshine, top temperatures 21 degrees. Average for the time of year is 16. And even on the coast, temperatures there a little cooler, but highs in the mid-teens. And over the next couple of days, well, good news if you're enjoying all this sunshine, it's going to be here to stay. We've got high pressure around. Yes, some misty, murky starts to the day, but plenty of hazy sunshine, high UV levels, so do wear sun cream if you're out and about. And it's going to be feeling warmer still as we look towards Saturday and Sunday before eventually things break down by Monday. Before we get there, though, lots of sunshine. And the reason it's starting to feel warmer still, the area of high pressure is going to be pulling eastwards. We've got this very warm southerly airflow. So certainly as we head into tonight, it's going to be a mild picture. Overnight temperatures only dropping to around 8 or 9 degrees and with clearer skies and some lighter winds. Of course, some mist and fog patches once again. So a mild, misty, murky start to the day for Friday. Similar really to today, but if anything, it's going to be warmer still. Lots of strong sunshine, high UV levels. By the afternoon, some fair weather cloud bubbling up there, but for the most part, for many of us, clear blue skies. And even along the coast where it's a touch cooler with those sea breezes, temperatures above the seasonal average, highs 18, 19 degrees, top temperatures 22, you could see 23. A similar story then as we look towards the weekend. Over into Saturday, another mild, misty, murky picture. Looking towards the weekend then, well, for Saturday, temperatures again of around 22 or 23 degrees. Over into Sunday, we should be staying dry and bright during the day, but this is what's heading our way, I'm afraid, as we head into the new week. But before we get there, lots of sunshine. Do wear sun cream. By the time we get to Saturday or Sunday, highs of 23. Enjoy.
We'll have to get your barbecue stuff
I know,
in now, because
yes,
it's all going to be sold
gonna
out
go-
by
I know, sold
Saturday
out.
morning. Thank you, Rachel. That's it. Miranda Shunker is back at 10:30. Bye-bye for now.